Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Rabbi Isai. If everybody could please mute, it would be great. Thank you. Let's see. I didn't have a lot of time to print today because today we're learning about the 39 Melachos. So there are 39 charts. Not really, but there are a lot of charts. More than I anticipated. So let me just check here for a second. Okay. Today's shir is sponsored L'Refuas Shoshana Helena Bas Chana Devaira and Shoshana Razia Bas Silka. And today is the 39th day in the Omer Hayom Tishu Shleishim Yom Shem Chamisha Shavuos V'Arba'a Yomim Ba'Omer. One email for today. Zehu. Lucky you guys. There's a lot of emails, but I want to accomplish today's daf and try to finish it if possible. This is from Jeffrey D. Haskell. Dear Rabbi, I'm 52 years old and I live in Woodmere. I've always wanted to do Daf Yomi, to be the Daf Yomi guy, but I never clicked with any shiurim. Although I went to from yeshiva in the 5 towns and yeshiva university, I didn't grow up Shomer Shabbos in a Shomer Shabbos home. I still have gaps in my knowledge. In particular, sometimes I find it hard to follow Maggid Shir when he uses a lot of Hebrew or Yiddish terms that I don't understand, or yeshivish terms. We'll stick that in. This grad, the geschmack pshatim that we say, your shiurim are different. While you use Hebrew terms too, you almost always explain what they mean in English before you start using the terms. I have a 22-year-old son who made Aliyah and is going to school at Machon Lev. Sometimes I'll ask him what a basic term like diuk means, because it's probably a basic word lost in my education gap. Thank you for being as clear as you are and explaining Hebrew terms. On average, I probably have something like 85 to 90% comprehension. I especially value your 8-minute daf summaries. They're truly invaluable. I usually listen to your 8-minute daf right after a full-length shir because I'll often pick up a good chunk of what I didn't understand in your full-length shir. Oh, a lot of people use the 8-minute daf as a preparation. Here's somebody that uses it as a chazara. Sometimes, if I'm really lost, I'll supplement with a shir on that daf by Rabbi Simon Wolf out of Ramat Shiloh. You guys know Rabbi Simon Wolf? He davens. I used to, back in the day when we used to daven in shul, I used to daven mincha with him. Great Maggid Shir. That's why I'm somewhat behind. I'm on my second round of Shabbos, dafim 35 through 37. That must have been around Pesach time. I don't see your 8-minute shiurim on those dafim. Those are the dafim that we're missing. 35, 36, and 37. And I have to stick to my shita. You make it up a different time. You just keep on going with what you have right now. Today is daf Ayin Gimel. We do Ayin Gimel. We'll come back to 35 Be'ezer Hashem one day. I don't see your 8-minute shiurim on those dafim and really love to listen to them to help me understand the different opinions. Will you eventually be making up those 8-minute daf summaries? Who knows? Be'ezer Hashem? Anyway, I take tremendous chizik from your shiurim. I feel like I'm working toward a goal, and your shiurim provide regularity and routine to what are otherwise greatly chaotic times. Please keep up your amazing, inspiring work. Warm regards, Jeff Haskell. Thank you, Jeff. Keep it up. All right. We stopped in the middle of a sugya. Amazing sugya of Misasik. We're going to finish up that sugya, and then we're going to jump in to the 39 Melachos, which will take us through the rest of the Masechta. Misasik, a person who is preoccupied, doesn't realize what he's doing. For instance, if he dropped a knife in a garden and he goes and he picks up the knife, he wants to pick up his knife, and by doing so, he chops off one of the vegetables, one of the fruit, he's kaitzer by mistake, complete mistake. Potter according to everybody. That's Misasik. Where's the machlokes between Abai and Rava? If he intended to cut a fruit that he thought was already cut, so he intended to cut, not that he thought, it really is cut, fruit A is cut, and then instead, by mistake, he cut fruit B, a completely different fruit, and that fruit happened to be attached to the ground. Is he over, or is that called Misasik? Rava says he didn't do a chaticha de isura. He didn't do a wrongful cutting, because what he wanted to do is a rightful cutting, something that he was allowed to do, cut a detached fruit. Says Abaya, at the end of the day, he tried to cut. Cutting is cutting. And therefore, he is not a misasik, he's a shaygig. And a shaygig has to bring a carbon. Question is whether he made a mistake here or he completely not involved. And the Gemara brings a raya yesterday from a brisa. The brisa has a reisha and a seifa. The reisha says that Shabbos is more stringent than all other averos. And the Gemara goes on to describe that all those other averos is referring to Avodah Zarah. That if Shabbos you do 2 melachos, you have to bring 2 karbanos, whereas in Avodah Zarah, even if you do 3 different types of Avodah Zarah or more, you only have to bring 1 carbon. You bring an animal on a mizbeach for Avodah Zarah, you 1 carbon. That's not where the raya is from. The raya is from the seifa. The Seifa says that other Averas are more chamor than Shabbos. Which is, if somebody does something b'shoigig b'loy miskaven, he doesn't have any intent. In other Averas, he's chayiv, in Shabbos, he's potter. What's the example? For instance, if he thought that he's going to eat a piece of chaylev, shuman, something that's mutter to eat, and it ends up being chaylev, he is chayiv. Whereas by Shabbos, he's completely potter. What's the case? Our case, that he intended to cut a fruit that's already detached from the ground, and he cut a fruit that's attached to the ground. Potter and Shabbos. Who does that go like? That goes like Rava. Great raya to Rava. All right, so here we're holding right here on top of Ayin Gimel Amidalaf, first word. Excuse me. Elolav, Reisha B'Avodah Zarah, V'Seifa B'Shar Mitzvos. So the Reisha, as we described, is talking about how Shabbos is less stringent than Avodah Zarah. V'Seifa B'Shar Mitzvos. Other mitzvahs, meaning other Averas, is more stringent than Shabbos. V'Shaga B'Loi Miskaven B'Shar Mitzvos Echidami. What is the example of somebody that's a shoygeg and he didn't have intent when it comes to other Averas? The Savar, the Shumanu V'Acholoi. Excuse me. So he thought he's eating something that is 100% mutter, and he ended up eating a piece of chaylev, and therefore he's chayav a carbon, like somebody that eats chaylev by mistake. Now, why is it when he eats a piece of chaylev by mistake he's chayav? Shekei nehena. At the end of the day, he benefited. As Rashi points out, b'chalavim v'arayas. When it comes to food and arayas, you can't say, oh, it was a mistake, scot-free. You benefited from it, you had enough from it, you're going to pay for it. You have to bring a carbon. Whereas Shabbos, there's zero benefit. He cut something by mistake, no benefit, therefore, no carbon. That's all the way, the case that we had all the way on top of Ayin Beis, Amid Beis, on top. He thought that he's cutting something that's already detached from the ground. It turns out that he cut something that's attached to the ground. According to Rava, that's called, or according to the Brisa, he's completely potter. Why? He's misasik. He's preoccupied. He had no intent to be over Isser here. And therefore he's potter, and that goes according to Rava. That's a great raya to Rava. How's Abai going to explain it? It's not talking about this case. It's talking about a different case. Not a person eating fat, which is kosher, but it turns out to be chaylev. He thought that he's just swallowing his own spit. But it turns out that he swallowed chaylev. That's very similar to what? The first case on Ayin Beis, Amid Beis, which is Mashenkim b'Shabbos, the potter, the skaven lagbias atalosh, v'chatachasem mechuber potter. Yeah, if I try to pick up a knife, I wasn't even trying to cut. Rava's case is he tried to cut, just it's a good cut. It's a kosher cutting. It's a cutting of something that's detached. No, he wasn't even trying to cut. He was trying to lift up a knife. He's just a little clumsy and he happened to cut a branch as he picked up his knife. He had no intent. That's mamish like walking to shul on Shabbos and somebody tells you, by the way, 100 feet ago, you killed an ant on the street. You had no idea. You didn't see it. You don't know about it. Misasek potter. But Rava's case, where he tried to cut something, but he thought that it's not a wrongful cut. It's a kosher kind of cutting because it's talosh, it's detached. and he ended up cutting something that's attached, chayav. In that case, he's chayav. Itmar. So now the Gemara gives us two more examples where Abaye and Rava argue in the same principle. Misasik. He's preoccupied, he's not thinking, he doesn't want to do it. But each case, and as we go through it, each case is a step more, a little bit more of a chiddush. What's the first case? Itmar. A person was playing ball with his son. He wanted to throw it 4 feet, 2 amos. In order to be over Issa Deraisa, you have to throw it 4 amos, 8 feet. He didn't want to do that, but he did want to throw it. And he wanted to throw it a half of a Deraisa. So this is already more of a chiddush in this case. Before he was trying to cut 0 Deraisa. Cut something that's already detached from the ground. There's no Isra at all. Over here, he's doing a half a shear of the Deraisa. The Deraisa, the B'chayev, you have to throw it 4 amos. He threw it 2 amos. But what happened? He didn't realize that he's a muscle man, and his 2 feet went 4 feet. 2 amos went 4 amos. So Rav Amar Potter, Abaye Amar Chayev. The same kind of machlokes. Why? Rav Amar Potter the loy kam chaven lizrika darba. He had no intent to do it as a deraisa. He thought that he's within the guidelines, within the heter, within 2 amos is fine. At the end of the day, he's no good at ball, and he threw it further than he intended. That's not an isser. That's a misasik. That's not a shaygig. It's not that he didn't know it's Shabbos today. He knew it's Shabbos. It's not that he doesn't know that Eitzah is 4 amos. He knows. He just had no idea that he just worked out yesterday and his muscle grew, and that he's going to throw it 4 amos instead of 2 amos. That's a misasik. Kasavar Rishus Hayachid Sai. V'Abaye Omar Chayav Deha Kol Mechaven Lizrika Ba'alma. No, Abaye says same idea as he said by cutting. He was trying to throw. Yes, he thought it's a kosher throw, but it ended up being a treifa throw, a usur throw. He has to pay for it. He has to bring a korban. Third case, even worse than the first 2 cases. He, in his mind, thought that he's throwing a ball, he's playing in Rishus HaYachid with his son. It turns out it's not even a Rishus HaYachid, it's a Rishus HaRabim. Rav Amar Potter, Abaye Amar Chayev. Rav Amar Potter, why Potter? He never had intent to do. He knows that throwing is asur. He knows that today's Shabbos. He just thought that what he's doing is in a place that's mutter. That's a misasik. Abaye Amar Chayev, the Mechaven Lizrika Ba'alma. And Abaye says no. So this is a much worse case, because at the end of the day he threw it the whole 4 amos, and he knew he's throwing it 4 amos. He just didn't know that he's in a Rishus HaRabim. He thought it's in a Rishus HaYachid. Utzricha diashmin kamayisa. If we only tell you the case by cutting fruit, he never even intended to cut at all. Any isra at all. There's 0 isra involved in what he thought he's doing. He thought he's cutting a detached fruit. But in the case of a ball, that he threw it 4 amos instead of 2 amos, but the 2 amos is a zrika, that he knows that it's part of something that's also, you cannot get to 4 without going through 2, so 2 is part of a isser. Maybe you would admit that case is not a misasik. And if we say these 2 cases, because he doesn't have intent to throw 4 amos at all. Yes, he threw it 2, and he thought it's 2, but it ended up going 4. But in the last case, that he ended up being in Rishus HaRabim, the Kavan Lizrika D'Arba, he 100% tried to throw it 4 amos. He just thought that he's in Rishus HaYachid. So therefore, I need all 3 cases. Tanan, believe it or not, we already had this Gemara twice, word for word. We're just bringing it for a point that we didn't bring out yet. Tanan, we're going to learn in the Mishnah. Where is this Mishnah, Rabbi Isai? In 14 lines from now. The craziest thing is that when we learn this Gemara, when we're learning it right now, it comes betupim u'b'mechaylos. It says it and asks a kasha. We learned in the Mishnah. But when we turn the page and the Gemara actually asks the question, it's in 5 words, and we're all done. Sugya over. Literally 1.5 lines, the whole sugya. But the 3 times that we're bringing it, we blow it up. So, Tanan, we're going to learn in the Mishnah. Aves malachas arba'im chasar achas. And we're going to ask this question today, not tomorrow, not today. We're going to have this sugya again. V'avinim ba. And we ask, in Omid Beis, Minyan alamali, why does the Mishnah have to count for us? We know how to count. Why do I have to tell us that there's 39 malachas? V'amar Rabbi Yochanan, and Rabbi Yochanan is going to say, Shemasan kulam be'elam echad, that if you did all these malachas in one awareness, chayav akalachas v'achas, that teach us that the most you could be possibly chayav is 39 karbanos in one day. First of all, you could get to 39. Second of all, not more than 39. Okay. Sounds familiar? Yeah, we learned it the other day, and before that, within the last week, twice. So according to Abaye, in the second case, the middle case, where a guy throws a ball, he made a mistake. He thought that he's going to throw 2 amas, but it ended up going 4 amas. So according to Abaye, he's chayav, he's not a misasek. Mishkachas lo, the Yisur Shabbos v'yadad, Yisur Melachos b'kata b'shiyurim. So the question always was, how in the world is it possible to get to 39 melachas? If a person is a shoygig in all 39 melachas, meaning he doesn't know that it's Shabbos at all, because Shabbos doesn't exist unless there's something asur on Shabbos. So if all 39 melachas in his mind are mutter, then it's not Shabbos. He's not a shoygig in Shabbos. He just doesn't know the concept of Shabbos. It's not that he doesn't know a malacha. So how do you get to, there's no difference between Shabbos and Sunday. So how do you get to 39 melachas? Right? We had this question a few times. But here's a great answer. He knows that this malacha is asur. He knows that hitzah is asur. He just doesn't know what constitutes hitzah. He thought hitzah is 23 amas, and it ends up that hitzah is 4 amas. He didn't know the shiurim. And in every single one of the 39 melachas, he didn't know the shiur. He thought that the shiur is a kazayas, but it ends up it's a gregarious, whatever the shiur is. He thought the shiur is a gregarious, and he thought the shiur is a pomegranate, and it ends up it's a gregarious, like all shiurim in Shabbos. He didn't know the shiur, and that's the shoygig. According to Abaye, that itself creates a shoygig. Elul Rava damapatur, but according to Rava, that if you throw a ball 2 amas and ends up going 4 amas, you completely pater. How do you explain Rabbi Yochanan? Says Gemara Nichei Savalak Rabbi Yochanan Amar Kivin the Shogeg Bikaris Av B'Shezid B'Lav. If you go according to Rabbi Yochanan that holds that it's considered a shogeg, just not knowing the consequence, very familiar because it should be familiar because he had it a bunch of times in the last week. According to Rabbi Yochanan, if a person knows that what he's doing is 100% asur, he just doesn't know that he's going to drop dead before the age of 60. He doesn't know that. That itself is a shogeg. So it's great. We can understand how a person does 39 melachas b'shogeg. He knows that everything he's doing is wrong. He just doesn't know the final consequence. So what's the Echatimtza? He knows that Shabbos is asur, but he just doesn't know the karas. Eli Stefansky, Domar Achi Yishgog B'Lavu B'Karas. But Rish Lakish argues, and he says that in order to be a shogeg, you have to do 2 things. You have to not know that it's an avera at all. You don't know that it's a lav, and you don't know that it's karas. The other Shabbos, how does he know that today's Shabbos? In all 39 melachas, he doesn't know that it's asur. He doesn't know it's asur, then today's Monday for him. The other labit chumim, aliba de Rebbe Akiva. We had this literally 3 times. That there's a 40th malacha called chumim, that according to Rebbe Akiva, it's a issa deraisa. It's not part of the lamites malachas, because you don't bring a carbon on it. You don't have any consequence at all. It's a isser, but that's it. So, in other words, according to Rebbe Akiva, he knows one thing about Shabbos. He knows that I cannot walk more than 2,000 amas past my house. So that's Shabbos. You're asking me, how does he know it's Shabbos if he doesn't know all 39 melachas? The answer is he knows number 40. But all the other 39 melachas, he has no idea. He has no idea. Great. So we're holding in the Mishnah of Masechta Shabbos. Finally, we're here. The Mishnah describes all 39 melachas. We had the other day, we had a few pshatim. Where do we know these 39 melachas? The other day it said, Eila hadvarim. Eila is a gematria. It's rare that the Gemara brings gematrias, but Eila is a gematria 36. Hadvarim, we said, is Dvarim is 2. Hadvarim is the third one. 3. Somebody sent me a beautiful pshat that the Gemara says Koitzer Teichen is outside. The Torah talks about it, and then the Torah talks about Mavir, about Leisavaru Eish. So it's 2 plus 1. Dvarim, Hadvarim, and then all the rest of the 36 melachas. Great. But we're going with the conventional pshat. Why are there 39 melachas? Because they represent the melachas that they needed in order to build the Mishkan. So anything that was part of building the Mishkan is a melacha. And as we're going to see, there are many more melachas. Some of them are even avos, not enumerated here. Some of them are toldos, which are exactly like the avos. They're just a subcategory of the av. Says the Mishnah, avos melachos arba'im chaser achas. 40 minus 1. In other words, 39 melachas that are avos, that are the head of the category. They're the top. That's it. This is the main category is called the av. Everything below it is a tolda. What's the difference? If I do an av and a tolda in the same exact awareness, for instance, I sow a seed, I plant a seed in the ground, or I plant a tree. Planting a tree is a tolda. It's identical in its isser to putting a seed in the ground. More than that, if I do pruning of a tree, I'm causing the tree to grow more. That's like planting. So all three of these things are all the same category. If I do all three of these things in one awareness, I bring one carbon. Now, just to understand real quickly, what we're going to learn is a few categories. The first category has to do with the samamonim, with dyeing the Yeriyos HaMishkan. And that will take up 13 melachas. In order for me to cook something, it'll take 13 melachas. The Mishnah goes into baking bread. We make a switch because they're identical, baking and cooking. So there's 13 melachas. How do I get to a loaf of bread? How do I eat a loaf of bread? There's 13 melachas that I need to go through in order to bake I have to plow the field. I have to sow the field with seeds. Then I have to reap the field. I have to separate the straw from the this. 13 different things until my wife bakes the bread, and then that's also one of the 13, baking, and then I eat it. It takes 13 melachas to get there. Then we have, that's 11. 11 of baking bread, 13 for dyeing. Dyeing samanim. So I messed up here. Forget what I said before. I said dyeing samanim. It's baking and bishul. Then you have the samanim, which is the beged. In order to make clothing, there are 13 melachas. So again, nachama. There are 11 to bake a bread or to create dye, to make a bishul. And then there's 13 to create clothing. All right? We'll see different things that we never even heard about. The way you weave a beged, the way you spin it, all these different things. And there are 7, and begadim, you need also for the tzemer, the yeriyos, that sort of stuff. Oyros, hides, there are 7 melachas. To get the hide, you need the hides for the top of the Mishkan, the tachash. Then you have 2 that have to do with the beams of the Beis Hamikdash, of the Mishkan. That's writing, because they used to write, like today we write on a sukkah panel, we go, this is the west wall, number 1, and then 2, 3. So that's what they did in the Beis Hamikdash. Each one had a number. So this kaisev and meichel. And then you have the rest of the Mishnah, another 6 things, Ba'in Esoisim, Mechabe Mavir, and Makib Patish, and Oitzah. Great. Says the Mishnah, Hazireya, planting or sowing a seed, V'achayrish, and plowing the field. The Gemara is going to ask, why does planting come before Charisha? Charisha should be the first one. Okay. V'akoitzer, reaping. So any type of reaping, what over here is referring to the straw, the wheat. It could be reaping of grapes, reaping of figs, whatever it is. V'ama amer. So a few pictures here, not too many today. Well, this we have from a different time. We have chayrish on the top, kaitzer on the bottom, chayrish and kaitzer. But we're going to the color one. Here's Ma'amer. This guy is piling up his wheat. He's making a pile. What else do we have here? Okay. Vahadosh, threshing. This is this guy right over here. Basically, with a device, you see right over here on a shoe or on the animal, he's separating the kernel from the straw. Vahazoira, winnowing. This picture right over here. He takes a pitchfork, throws the straw up in the air. The wind comes and blows the light shaft away, and the heavy kernels fall down into a pile. Va'abayrer, separating. And this is very interesting. Since it separates the kernels from the straw, we're going to have 3 of these melachas in the Mishnah. First, we're going to talk about toichen for a split second, which is grinding. We know what that is. You take the kernels, you put it in a machine, you turn, and it makes flour. But then it goes back to hameraked. Meraked is basically bayrer. We know what meraked is. Sometimes the women do this stuff, or men, whatever it is. They sift flour. They're taking the good stuff and leaving the stones on top. And here's unbelievable. Whereas we spoke before that if somebody puts a plant in the ground, plants a tree, or cuts a branch off a tree and the tree starts growing more, or puts a seed in the ground, that's all one melacha, yichayev one carbon. Over here, since the Mishnah brings these things down individually, that means that they're individual melachas. So if I go like this and I take the kernels away from the thing, and then I go in one awareness, I take my sifter, I go like that, I have to bring 2 karbanas, even though it's exactly the same idea. It's separating the bad from the good. V'halosh, kneading. I take the dough, I go like this. V'oifa, and baking. Next, now we're talking about clothing. It takes 13 steps to make clothing. Hagoizes hatzemer. Step number 1 is you have to shear off the wool, off an animal. Hamelabnoi, I whiten it. I rinse it in water. Vamenapsoi, I untangle it. I don't know if I have a picture of it. Not really. Well, yeah, here, menapets. This guy right over here, you see he has a little brush. He does it by hand. He untangles the wool. Vatsoivoi, and he dyes it. Vatoiva is this guy right over here. He spins it. He takes a bunch of this raw material and he spins it until it becomes a thread. This we need a picture for. We don't really, but basically, after he has some sort of garment there, he cuts it. So he's cutting it off the thing this they did in the Mikdash, he cuts it. Oh, here comes the picture. So in order to understand what's going on here, this is all from Yoni, by the way, the colorful Yoni. So if you see on the bottom he has 2 pedals. You could push up and down, and these frames right over here go up and down. And what they do is they separate the chassis. These strings right over here are called chassis, and what he's holding in his hand is Erev. And he tries to put the Erev in between these strings. So he lifts it up, he puts the Erev through, and then he lifts the other one up, and he brings the Erev right back. It goes back and forth, back and forth. So Shtei Batei Nirin is, if you look closely in these frames, in the picture frames, there's holes, loops. So to put 2 strings through those rings, that's Shtei Batei Nirin. If you do it twice, you're over. V'oireg shtei chutim, as I just described, going back and forth with the erev, he has that thread and he goes one time and he goes backwards. V'apoitzeya shnei chutim. So this is also done with the chilazar, and you take the blue dye. So he's cutting the two strings. He cuts two. HaKosher, this is for the trap of the chilazar, and he makes a knot, a professional knot. V'hamater, and he undoes a knot. Taisa just points out real quickly that the Mishnah doesn't mention anything about when it comes to matir that he's undoing a knot in order to create a new knot. Where everything else, you break a building, seiser, in order to build. You erase two letters in order to write. Over here, the Mishnah doesn't mention it. He says, I don't know, tzarchiyun kind of thing. V'atoiver shtei tfiras. And if a person has a piece of beged, and he goes in and out, like two stitches, not really. In, out. One stitch, really. A one complete stitch, in and out. Hakarei amanas litfor. Or he rips the beged, because back then they also had moths, and if a moth made a hole in the yerios of the Mishkan, they had to repair it, but in order to repair it, they wanted to give the uman more room, so they would rip it more, and then he would go ahead and make a better repair. Okay, and that's it. So now we're going into the hides. In order to get to a hide, in order to have hide, hatzot tzvi, you have to first capture an animal. Any animal. It could be a bumblebee in your dining room on Shabbos. That's tzot tzvi. Hashoichtoi. You kill the animal. If you want to smush a mosquito on Shabbos, it's a d'oraisa. Unless, of course, you have an excuse that it has West Nile's disease, whatever. V'amafshitoi. And to skin the animal. If you don't know what that looks like, I think we have some sort of picture here. Here. These are all yoni, and with permission, it comes from this book, if you want to see. This book of Lametes Melachas from Rabbi Chait. Baruch Chait and Yoni got together to make a book on the stuff. It's beautiful stuff. A lot of cool stuff, a lot of funny pictures. These are the basic ones. So here he's skinning the hide off the animal. And to salt the hide. I don't know if I have a picture. Basically, he ran out of time. It's in here. But the point is he soaks the hide in some sort of chemical. So the Gemara says already that melicha and ma'abed is the same exact thing. We have to remove one, and instead we're going to put in misartet. And that is like if you've seen the Sefer Torah, it always has these lines. You take a ruler and you make a groove in the hide. That's misartet. This we need a picture for. Basically, he's smoothing out the hide. You see carefully, he's taking some sort of tool, and he goes from rough down here to nice and smooth over here. You cut it because you want specific lengths for straps or whatever. Now, we're moving away from hide to the kairos of the Beis Hamikdash, the Mishkan. Writing like we had the other day, shame, mishimoin, 2 oisiyos, that's enough to be over. So over here the Mishnah says specifically, erasing alone is not enough because that's destroying. Destroying, you never over. But if I'm erasing in order to create, that's asur. Haboina, building, vasoiser. Obviously, stir over here means almanas livnois. Hamechaba, putting out a fire. As we described, it has to be in a way that you're gaining from putting out the fire because you want the coal, you want the wick, the black, whatever. But just destroying is not a melacha, you're not over. V'amavir in making a fire. Hamake bepatish, that is, I didn't get to that one. Chaval. Okay. You have a nice vessel, the final blow of the hammer, that you say, okay, that finishes off the kli, now it's ready to be sold, ready to be used, that's awesome. The final malacha, hamoitzi mirshus l'rishus. And then it becomes more understandable why we had the question on the first day of Masechta Shabbos. Why in the world does Masechta Shabbos start with hamoitzi mirshus l'rishus when it's the last malacha? We discussed it then. It's a melacha grua, da. Okay. Harei elu avos melachos arbaim chaser achas. So the Mishnah actually says the number twice. That makes the question even stronger. And the Gemara talks about it later on in a few daf. Says the Gemara minyana lamali. But the first count, why do I need? This is a very difficult Gemara. Amar Rabbi Yochanan shemasan kulon behelem echad. If you do all 39 melachas in one shot, chayev akol achas va'achas. Finally, here's the source. This is it. 1.5 lines. From this, the Gemara made matamim 3 times in the last 10 daf or whatever. So, if a person, it comes to teach you that the most you could be over is 39 melachas. Because there are many, you could be very confused. As we go through the sugya, there's so many different things that the Mishnah doesn't mention. No, they all fall within these categories. And for me, the biggest chiddush was that doing boirer and doing miraked, you chayiv 2 karbanas. Why? Because they're mentioned in the Mishnah as 2 separate, even though they're identical, they're both boirer. They're both to select the good from the bad or the bad from the good, chayiv 2 karbanas. Hazireya, planting. Vahazoimer, pruning, which is a tolda. The only one of these of a tolda, vaniteya, and planting a tree. That's an av, even though it's not mentioned in the Mishnah, it's an av. Vahamavrich, it's an av. In other words, taking a vine, bending it, and putting it into the ground, hoping that it'll start growing that way, the reverse. Vamarkiv, and grafting a branch, putting a branch into another tree. What are you doing? All these things, you're trying to make something grow. That's all zoreya. That's all av melacha besides that one zoimer one, the pruning one. Kula melacha achasein. They're all considered one. So if you did, my kamashmalon, oisim melacha isharbe, may melacha achas, and chayav ela achas. If I did all 5 of these things in one awareness, I went from my tree to my garden, I was planting vegetables. Yeah? What are you tiny? What happened? You're cold? You're hot? I skipped. Okay, where did I skip? Oh, Hazarev Achoresh. Thank you. Michti. Michrav Karve Bereisha. What's the first step? Everybody knows. We're all farmers. First, you plow a field, you soften up the dirt, and then you put the seeds into the ground. So why does the Mishnah start off with plowing? Listen to Charish Vada, listen to Zereh. Tano Beretz Yisrael. These are all halachas for Eretz Yisrael. The Zari Bereisha, Vada Karve. The ground in Eretz Yisrael is very tough. Yeah? We live in a desert. So you have to do 2 charishas. You have to plow twice. First you plow to soften it up. Then you put the seeds down. Then it's not soft enough yet. You have to plow it again to get the seeds to go into the ground. So the Gemara, the Mishnah is telling us a chiddush that the second plowing is also considered a plowing, not only the first one. Okay. Where are we holding? Hazireya, Tana, Hazireya, Vazireya, Nitev, Vamavrach, Vamarkiv, Kula, Melacha, Achasein, Maikom Mashmalon, Okom Mashmalon, Hoyz Melachas Harbe, Mei Melacha, Achas, and Echayev Ela Achas. If you do all 5 of these things, since they're all the same av, they're all avos in their own way, not the same av. Noiteya, Hazireya, they're all avos, but they're the same action, Chayev 1 carbon. Omer Avach, Omer Mchia, Bar Ashi, Omer Rabami. Zoimer, Chayev Mishum Noiteya. If a person prunes, he planted a tree, right? You go over the tree, you cut a branch halfway. What's going to happen? It starts growing even more. That is considered planting. Vaniteya. And planting a tree. Chayev mishum zereh. You're chayev all because of planting a seed, which is the melacha. Ask the Gemara, mishum zereh, mishum neteya loy. What you chayev? Are you chayev 2 or you chayev 1? What happens here? Ema af mishum zereh. At the end of the day, only chayev 1. They're all included in zereh. It's the same thing, and memele chayev 1. Omer Rav Kahana. Zoimer v'tzorach leitzim. What if a person accomplishes 2 acts with one thing? In other words, he pruned the tree. He wants 2 things here. He wants to accomplish 2 things. He wants to, first of all, he needs wood for his fireplace, but he also wants his tree to grow more. chayiv shtayim. Then all of a sudden, even though it's one cutting, he's chayiv two karbanas because he did two actions. What are you going to be chayiv on? You have to be chayiv on too. Achaz mishum koitzer v'achaz mishum noiteya. He reaped the tree, he cut wood off the tree, and he also planted the tree all in one swift move. Or Rabbi Yosef, hayman de kotal aspasta. Now the Gemara gives two other examples. Animal fodder, the straw that you grow for animals, you cut this 3 times a month. Every time you cut it, it grows even more and more. It's never ending. Chayiv shtayim. Achas mishum koitzer v'achas mishum noteya. Because you cut it, it's going to grow more. It's like here on unwanted places, whatever. You cut it, just keeps on growing. So you chayiv because you want it, it's koitzer. And it's also noteya. You're planting because you're making it grow more. Amar Abai, hayman de kanev silka. The same thing applies to beet. You cut the beet. By you cutting, you're reaping it, but you're also causing it to grow more. V'achayresh, plowing, tana, hachayresh, v'achayfer, and digging, v'achayretz, and making a ditch. All of these, you're softening the ground. Kulam lachachasein, says Rashi, they're all part of harisha. Although we're going to see soon that sometimes digging a hole is baina. Omer Rav Sheshes, Haisaloi gavshushes unitala. You had a little mound of dirt. Now it depends where it is. Babayis chayv mishum baina. You just flattened out your living room. Now it's nice and smooth. You built baina. Basada in the field chayv mishum chayrish. If it's in the field, now you soften the ground. Now it's easier for you to plant. You're over on a different milacha called chayrish. You can do the same action depending where it is. Chayiv different milachas. Again, you can do the same action depending on your intent. You chayiv a different thing. You want the tree to grow more. You chayiv on iteya. You want the wood. You chayiv on koitzer. You want both. You chayiv both, depending on what you want. Amar Rava hoisalei gumot mama. You had a hole in the ground and you filled it up. Again, depending what your intent is. Babayis chayiv mishum baina. You just flattened out your living room, so you're chayiv because of baina. Basada mishum chayrish. Once again, you are filling up a hole in your field. Now it's easier for you to plant. Chayrish. Omer Abba, hachayfer gumer v'Shabbos vein tzarich elafra patur leho. So we touched upon this big halacha in Masechta Shabbos. A person doesn't want the hole; he wants the dirt, but he created a hole. What's the halacha? He's patur. Why? So I'll remind you, we had this amazing concept called melacha shein tzrich legufa. A person only wants to resolve a problem that he has. He has a corpse, he has a body in his house. So he needs to take the smell out. He doesn't want the body in his front yard. It doesn't serve him any purpose. He just doesn't want the smell. Or he doesn't want this match to be lit. It might burn down his house. So he extinguishes the flame. But he doesn't gain anything from the extinguishing of the flame unless, as we said, he wants the charcoal. But that's melacha shein tzrich legufa. He doesn't need the outcome. He just is trying to solve a problem that he has. Over here, he doesn't want the outcome. He doesn't want a hole in the ground. That's not what he wants. What he wants is dirt. But this is different than taking a body outside. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yehuda will hold taking a body outside is haitzah. Yes, I don't care if the body's inside or outside, but I wanted to take him outside. I wanted to move him. Over here, by making a hole in the ground, I'm ruining. So then melacha shein tzrich legufa is patur even according to Rabbi Yehuda. Whereas when I take a dead person out, I didn't ruin anything. So mela I'm chayav according to Rabbi Yehuda. Ve'hakoitzer and reaping, tana. Hakoitzer, to harvest. Hakoitzer, harvesting wheat. Haboitzer, reaping whatever the word is for grapes. Ve'hagoider, for dates. Ve'hamesik, for olives. Ve'oira, for figs. In other words, you're taking off the tree, figs, dates, whatever it is. Kula melacha achas. Melacha achas. You chayiv only one carbon. Amra papa, hi man, this shall the pisa the dikla. Guy's lazy to climb up the palm tree, so he takes a nice stone or some dirt and he throws it at the dates. And and like that he knocks down the dates, chayiv shtayim. He's chayiv twice. Achaz mishum toilish. What's toilish? It's the same malacha as kaitzer. He is taking something off a tree. V'achaz mishum mefarek. And for breaking something up. This is interesting to understand. He has a bunch of dates, and he wants to break them up. He wants to get them away from whatever, that whole mess that a date tree has. He wants to get the date, extract the date from the wood and whatever. That's mefarik. What's mefarik? It's part of dash, like we said. Like that picture with the animal walking on his straw to break up the straw from the kernels. He's doing the same thing, just with dates. So he's doing two melachas. He's doing toilish, he's doing kaitzer, and dash, all at the same time. He's chayiv two korbanos. Rav Ashi Omar, ein derech tlisha b'kach, vein derech prika b'kach. Nobody in his right mind takes stone, starts throwing it at his date tree. You go up there, you take it down. There's ways to do it, not with dirt. And memela, he's not chayiv on it. V'ama'amer, Omar Rava, hayman decha. So ma'amer, again, what's ma'amer? Taking all your straw and gathering and making a pile from it. So does that apply to other things, such as salt? Says Rava, yes. Hayman dechan of milcham and malchasa. Where do we have melech from malchasa? We just had it in the whole sugya of lechashim. I don't remember which one it was, but something about you're supposed to take salt from the factory. And what's the factory? You take a lot of seawater and you lay it out on like a shallow pool, and you wait for the sun to come and dry it out. The water evaporates, you're left with the salt. You go to this place and you take all this. Now you have a bunch of salt everywhere. You take a broom, you put all the salt in one pile. Is that ma'amer? Rava says yes. Abai Omer no. Eini mor ela b'geduli karka. It has to be something that grows from the ground, not salt. V'hadash. Tana hadash. V'amenapet. These are other things. You take something, you beat the cotton down. You take something, you beat whatever, the wool down. Kula melacha achasein. It's one melacha. It's one, you're over on one. And then, okay, fine, we'll start here tomorrow. It's a new sugya of a bayr. Why Zaira, bayr, toichen, mirakid? Not toichen, but how come Zaira, bayr, mirakid? 3 different types of bayr are considered different ones. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Shema Elois, Mimama Gim Yosicha Adonai. Adonai, Shema B'Koili, Shema Zdov Kashavos, L'Kol Tach Adonai, Yavli L'Shmoyot, Miyamot, Timcho HaSlicho, L'Mati Barei, Shvid Adonai Kivzo Nafshi, V'Dvorei Chalti, Shvid Adonai, Shomrim L'Boiker, Shomrim L'Boiker, Chayis Adonai Kim Adonai Chesed, V'Arbei Moifedos, V'Yivdei Yisrael, Mikol Avon Yisov. Amen. Just wanted to point out, all these things that we learned, we're going to learn about them in much more depth. Don't worry about it. That goes, the whole Masechta talks. There's even prakim dedicated to some of these malachas that we just mentioned. This is just the headline.
Wow, Eli, amazing shir. It's my daily thank you for all the hard work you do, for all the charts that you do.
Yeshua, yeah. Where were you this morning, though? You know, I missed you in the morning, reminding people to get up, sending out WhatsApps. Where are you? What's going on?
I'm there.
You didn't send anybody a link to the Zoom today?
What are you talking about? Listen, Eli.
Did you send out a link?
I want to know how in the world Avi Kamiansky got the beautiful sheets, and when you were in the middle of this year, you were showing sheets without the nun. I didn't know how he got the good sheets.
What? What nun?
30 times. After you printed it 30 times, I was there watching them getting printed, and Avi Kamiansky got the good sheets with the nun, and you didn't have it. And also, by the way,
everybody could unmute, right? Everybody, I don't see anybody unmuting, but everybody could unmute.
Yeah, so the decision made that wouldn't unmute everybody at the same time, so it wouldn't be crazy. So people can unmute if they want to.
Eli has a really beautiful share. Right.
Yishkoyach, thank you.
Thank you, Rav Eli. Beautiful share. Get it.
Who's Yoili? Yoili, Anaya face. Yoili. Shalom Aleichem. Where are you from?
Eli, great job.
Yeah.
An Arab. Arab is the way you always want an Arab. That's how you remember it. I was once learning Shabbos, and that's what they taught me.
How do you know which one is the Erev is the one that you go back and forth? The Shesi is the one that's locked in the machine.
Lying down. Arab is lying down. That's the way you.
Oh, you know, I missed something, I think. Hold on. This guy. How come I didn't say this guy? Oh, Mesach. Mistake. I don't think I said this. Did I say this guy, Mesach? Did I skip him? It's putting the strings on the rolls. I don't remember saying it. Maybe I said something else instead of it.
You said the one on the right side of it.
You skipped it, punk.
Yeah. This is Poitseya. And I said it's Mesach. Not good, not good. Rabbi said not good. We got to do the Mishnah over again. We got to do the Mishnah over again, I think.
I want to publicly tell everybody that in addition to the entertainment by Avi Kamiansky, I find David Kornbluth's entertainment awesome.
Where did you see his entertainment? I didn't see his entertainment. Where was it? I don't understand. Where was the entertainment? On what?
I find you highly entertaining.
Where is David? Is he clothed today? We had a lot of complaints that he Zoom bombed us. David, I see you, Mamish. I like your shirt, David. I like your shirt. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Anybody wants a bracha? I don't know if you mentioned this already, but today is the campaign for Atzal Beit Shemesh.
Yeah, but we don't advertise on our share. We're very makbid not to advertise. I mean, Mati Middeldorf is an exception.
You have 7 members of your share that are 7 or 8 members that are members of Atzal Beit Shemesh.
Beautiful, beautiful. I'm very impressed. Was noch? What? Everybody's quiet. Everybody's like in shock. What's going on here? What happened? I mean, we could. Oh, Hillel Abrams. Look at his screen. Everybody look at his screen. I'm not going to say anything, but look at his screen.
Beautiful.
The beautiful Zach. Hatzal Beit Shemesh.
I told him to put my wife off for each of my 5 children tonight.
What happened?
To each of my 5 kids tonight. I told him Shemesh helps the kids off school. Free of charge.
Hillel, why did I see ambulances from Ichud Hatzalah running around the neighborhood lately? Are they trying to come into the neighborhood?
They are already in the neighborhood.
With ambulances?
I don't follow everything they do. They're also a good organization.